Good afternoon. It's your girl Crystal, and first I just want to say hello to all of the new subscribers. Thank you guys for joining me. I really appreciate all the love and support. I take time to read through the comments. It helps me to grow and it encourages me. So thank you everyone who's taken time to watch one or more videos. I really appreciate it. Today, I just have a word of encouragement for all of my purpose chasers. I love to call you guys my pioneer girls just because when you're doing something new for God, there's no blueprint. And oftentimes, that's what He's calling us to do, not follow in the footsteps of something that's been done before, but to do a new thing. His word says that. And so, as we do that, sometimes we need encouragement, sometimes we need uplifting, and just to know that someone else understands, someone else is going through the process, and that God ultimately will bring us through. And so, as I've been in my own journey, just trying to do what God has asked me to do, He's had me read Joshua. And, at first I read Joshua chapter 1, and I was like, okay, I know this story, right? We know that they cross the Jordan, right? The walls are going to come crashing down. They're going to take the city. Yes, right? That's all that there is. And a lot of times that's where we stop, even when it comes to sermon and things like that. That's where we stop. But God really wanted me to go chapter by chapter and really understand what it looks like to take territory. And that's what God is calling us to do through our individual purposes. We're taking territory. We're encouraging people. We're sharing the gospel, which ultimately is taking His children back from the enemy, and that's taking territory in the spirit and on earth. And so one of the things I began to realize is that every single piece of land, every single city that He took, it required a fight. It required faith, and it required obedience, even sometimes when they didn't hear the voice of God. And so a lot of times how we start out is just how Joshua 1 started out. God gives us this wonderful promise, right? In Joshua 1:3, He says to Joshua, everywhere that the sole of your foot treads, I will give to you, just as I said to Moses. So we have this awesome promise, right? That gets us excited, like we're almost there. I can't wait. Like, look what God is going to do. And then we cross over, and then there's opposition that is awaiting us. And sometimes it's not one piece of opposition. We have to continuously contend for that promise of God. And that looks different. So there are times where it's more about your faith, where God's just asking you to do little. He's asking you to just walk around the walls. That's it. Not to fight anybody, not to knock anything down, but just to walk around the walls and to praise me at the end and watch Him do the heavy lifting. But there are other times where He asks you to put your hands, your feet, your arms into the situation, to put your all in and take a bit of a risk, right? There's a risk when you go to war. There's a risk that someone can die. There's a risk that maybe the army is larger than what we perceive, or, in terms of 2021, maybe the risk is you don't have the money. Maybe the risk is you don't know what you're doing. Maybe the risk is you feel like the market that He's calling you to is overly saturated. And there's a risk, but He's still asking you to be obedient. And even in that, there's some times where He's going to ask you not to take any gain. There were some cities where He told them to burn everything, and there were others where He allowed them to take some of the loot. And so in this season, as you guys press forward, as we are marching into the second half of this year, it's so critical to be in a posture of listening and submitted to God so that we can hear every step of the way what it is that He wants us to do, because it may be different from day to day. It may be different each level that you go. And there are going to be some times also where He says nothing. There were some cities that Joshua had to take where he hadn't heard God before he went through the city. And what the word says He did is He did the very thing that He told him to do in the first city. In Jericho, He said, burn it all. And so he just continued to be obedient to the last word that was given him. And so even in those moments, ladies, where you feel like I did something, now it's time for me to move on, I don't hear God, continue to do the last thing that he told you to do, even if it's in a new city, even if it's in a new market, even if it's through a new social media platform. Continue to do the last thing that he told you to do. Be faithful in that thing and know that he's still with you. He's still for you. He's already told you that you have the victory. And so I just want to highlight something that was just really just amazing to me, that when I came to chapter 12, at the very last verse of chapter 12 says that Joshua defeated 31 kings. So remember, when he came into this territory, when he was about to cross over the river Jordan, all God said was, everywhere your foot, the sole of your foot touches, I will give to you. He didn't give him the whole blueprint. He didn't say, these are the amount of oppositions that you'll have to face. He just said, I'm giving it to you. It's yours. The promise is yours, and that I'm with you, just as I was with your predecessor, just as I was with your mentor, just as I was with your pastor, I'm with you. And so I just want to encourage you today, even if you don't know what it's going to look like down the line, even if you don't know if your bank account right now, if it looks red, if it will ever be green, you don't know how many subscribers you're going to receive. You don't know how you're going to get that book published. It doesn't matter. What matters is that he's already given you the promise. He gave it to you before you even started to make moves. So just be faithful in the things that he's told you to do. Be obedient to that, and know that everywhere your foot, the sole of your foot touches, he's going to give it to you, because you're working for him. You're bringing him glory, and you're calling his children back to him, which is the mandate that we have. So be encouraged, ladies. Continue forward. Continue pressing towards the mark of the prize of the high calling in Jesus, and know that God is faithful. He is Jehovah Jireh. He's Jehovah Nissi. He is our banner. And so as we move in his name, he moves with us. Be encouraged, keep moving, keep being obedient, and be expectant to see how God shows up and how the victory is already in your hands.